Okay, we are live. Yay! Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, wherever in the world you are. If you're tuning in today, let me know where you're tuning in from. Say hi in the comments, and also this will help to let me know that everything is clear on the video and you can hear me and you can see me well. Also, I would love just a quick comment on the background noise. I'm not using headphones today, but I could if the background noise is too much. So just let me know how I'm coming across, if it's clearly, and then we will proceed. So this morning's talk story, or today's talk story, is actually another technical session. And we're going to talk about breathing. We're going to talk pretty in depth about breathing and go over some different types of breathing, a couple of different breathing techniques that you can practice, and also I'm going to give you some homework and some further references to use as well. So thanks, Eddie. Hi, Madeline. Cool, I'm coming through clear, and that's awesome. So yeah, those are the things I want to talk about today. Different types of breathing, some different breathing techniques to practice together, and then give you some homework so that you can practice these things. And if you want to play along today with me in the video, just make sure you're in a comfortable place, and ideally at one point you might want to be able to lie down and put your feet up on a chair or a ball or just up on the wall. So you might need a mat and a wall, a chair, or a ball to play along. So hey, Mark from Australia, yay. Hey, Bernie, yes, breathing is so important. Hey, Pierre, yay, lots of people tuning in today. So as Bernie just mentioned, breathing is so important, and I would even venture to say that breathing is the most powerful tool that we have. It's a tool that is with us and that we are utilizing, whether we realize it or conscious of it or not, every moment of every day. We can live for a long time without, say food or water even. We can go several days or weeks. We can't go very many moments without our breath, or we will no longer survive, right? And so not only is it that important to us to be alive, but it's also something that's very underutilized in terms of how it can be optimized and how we can work with it and how we can practice it to help us to find benefits not only in our athletic performance, but also to help us relax. It can induce a state of excitation, a state of euphoria, and you can use it to increase or decrease performance. You can use it to increase or decrease something like anxiety, right? So when we use our breath and we understand how to use our breath, it can help elevate ourselves and our lives and our performance. And when we don't understand that, oftentimes it can be not only something that we're not utilizing, but something that could be even detrimental in the way that we are breathing. So yeah, so hi, Mark. Great comment about the way babies breathe. And so we're going to talk about a lot of different ways to breathe, right? So this is something that you've heard me say if you watch my videos all the time. There is no exact right or wrong. Just like any technique that we practice, there are certainly preferred methods, And there are certainly techniques that we can use to get more benefits or have better body mechanics or get more oxygen or decrease our heart rate, our blood pressure, all sorts of things like that. But it's, again, by no means like what I'm saying today is my way or the highway. And I'm going to give you at the end some references for you to go ahead and do some further research on your own and practice on your own to really feel deeper into these concepts. And so don't do anything today, as usual, that might cause pain, right? If there's pain, I want you to stop. Breathing should not be painful. If you get, lightheaded at all, also please stop if it feels difficult. So, little bit of a disclaimer, right? So, many different ways to breathe, like infinite number of ways to breathe. So we're just going to talk about a few today and why. And so, a few key topics that are important, especially for athletes, and that is, and actually really just for the health of your breath in general, is to practice nasal breathing, which is breathing in, and usually in and out through the nose, but definitely in through the nose. There are certain techniques and times when we are doing a certain practice and we would breathe in through the mouth. However, unless we're specifically trying to achieve a certain result from breathing in through the mouth, and we're doing that with purpose, almost always the preferred way to breathe, and the way you want to breathe naturally when you're not even thinking about breathing, is nasally, in and out through the nose. And so first and foremost, if you're not a nasal breather and you know that about yourself, like, just start there, because there's probably some retraining, and that even has to do with physically, like oftentimes that's because we can have chronically congested sinuses that make nasal breathing a little less easy for us, so then we default to our mouth, which is a much bigger cavity to get air in and out of. But that's not optimal, and it leads to all sorts of issues like snoring, sleep apnea. It can be linked to asthma, which can be linked to, again, your blood pressure and your oxygen and CO2 rates and all sorts of things like that. And I don't want to get too technical, but the main point I'm trying to make is that we are primarily nasal breathers even when we're in an aerobic state, so even when we are exercising. And so the other thing that is helpful to start to work on, and this also is helpful to start to make sure that those sinus cavities are nice and clear and open, is actually our whole position of our jaw, basically, which is like the whole bottom half of our face, is really key for this as well. So so another thing that we often do when we're breathing is, especially when we're working out, is like our mouth is open, even if we're not breathing in and out of our mouth, like we're like, right, like and actually you want to have when you're breathing, when you're resting, when you're training, you want your jaw closed gently. You want your teeth in the back touching gently. So that's another just kind of key component of breathing mechanics that I wanted to point out, is that the jaw is actually closed gently. The teeth are touching. And then the third point is that the tongue, again, unless you're practicing a specific form of breathing which involves a different tongue position, which there's many of those that do exist, but in resting states and also in aerobic states, the tongue placement is gently on the top palate or the roof of your mouth, near and or just gently touching the front teeth. So something you can kind of practice right now. It's hard to do while you're talking, but just for a moment here while I'm saying this, you're probably doing it, right? Trying to feel breathing in and out through your nose with your jaw gently closed and your tongue gently resting on the roof of your mouth. So if that feels really weird for you, it's an indication that you might have some incorrect muscle or bone patterns, some incorrect patterns in your breathing, and those are things that you want to look into. Again, this is in general. Of course, this is not every single breath you take, right? Like, I'm talking right now, so I'm having to use my mouth a lot more than just my nose. Yeah, and if you guys aren't checking through the comments, like, I love, keep commenting there, because this is so great, and this makes it a dialogue, and Mark's talking about his experience with breathing too, so we can talk about our different experiences. I'm going to talk about my experience, and you guys can talk about yours, and we can help each other in that way. Yeah, so he's talking about big waves, and the person that I want to most reference at the end of this, and I can go ahead and just throw it in now, is James Nestor. And so he originally, you might know him from the book Deep, which is about free diving, which is a lot of the practices that those big wave surfers do. I know I'm jumping out of order here, but I'm answering comments. But he recently wrote a book called Breathe, and it's phenomenal. So that's James Nestor, the book Breathe, and you'll hear a lot of the things that I'm saying that he backs up with tons and tons and tons and tons of clinical studies and research and anecdotal information as well. So cool. And then I love your questions too in the comments box, and I love to answer those as well. So I'm not going to talk too much specifically today about a relaxation technique of breathing, because I covered that a lot a few weeks ago in my meditation video. So you can go to the YouTube channel, SIC Maui's YouTube channel or Facebook page, and you can watch the meditation video that I did, where I talk about the breathing, body movements, mechanics, what you want to think about to really elicit a deep relaxation for your body. Whether that's just you want to relax in the moment or you want to start a meditation practice. It's helpful for both of those things. So, but just to recap really briefly, relaxation breathing is, as Mark just pointed out, really into your, just back up a little bit. Yeah, really into your belly and taking these deep belly breaths and bringing the breath lower and still bringing the breath like through the whole torso, but really focusing on getting it to start from the belly and move up. So belly relaxation breathing is also usually nasal belly breathing, longer, slower, and soft. And there's also many different forms of breathing under a name we call pranayama. So if you've ever done any yoga, you've probably heard the term pranayama. And so pranayama is, prana is life force. So it's breathing to increase your life force, to increase your energy, to increase your vitality. And there's many different techniques that yogis use to do that. And so another great reference for you, and one that I'm not going to talk about today, are many different forms of pranayama or yogic breathing styles that can help you to relax the body, cool the body, heat the body, and also will help you in general on your breathing journey and your breathing practice and learning how to use your body more optimally, which is just why I'm here and what I'm all about. So yes. So let's talk about one more question from Mark. Hi, Sander from the Netherlands. Yeah. So he's basically stating, if you're reading Mark's comment, that breathing should be a really natural process, and really if we're in a relaxed state, we should be able to just breathe naturally. However, the issue that's occurred in sort of the modern day times is that we've actually slowly but surely drifted away from being able to just naturally breathe properly. A lot of people are suffering from issues related to breathing, sinus issues, congestion issues, asthma, things like that, and sleep apnea. And so just relaxing and just letting your body breathe, for some of us, we might still breathe optimally that way, and for a large percentage of people, it's been shown now that because we're not taught how to breathe, over time, with the stresses of life, and with our diets and all sorts of other things, because it's all so connected, we've gotten away from how to optimally breathe. And so I think that we do need to practice it. It's not just like relax and your body will do it naturally. I wish that it was like that, but I'm a big fan of practicing everything that you want to be optimal at. So breathing to increase athletic performance, which is, I think, why a lot of you are here, and something that I've been working on a lot this year, and well, in the past several years, but just always diving deeper and deeper in. So breathing to increase athletic performance, I'm going to give you guys some tools to work on for that and a couple of specific techniques. So when we're breathing with our, like I said, to relax, we're breathing in these nice, deep, slow, long inhales for our full torso. When we're in an aerobic state means you are using oxygen to create energy, meaning your heart rate is elevated, and so that's where you're going to be when you're training, when you're paddling, when you're doing any form of cardio. An aerobic state would be your slow, steady state. And that type of breathing, even though it's a slow, steady state, we're still at an elevated place in our body where we can't take these long, slow, deep breaths. We just don't. That's not going to get us the oxygen that we need in that moment to keep producing energy, to keep going, right? So the way that we breathe in those moments, though, can really make a huge difference on our performance. And so I like to think about the most essential part of the body movement for my breath, which is the area around my diaphragm. So your diaphragm is essentially your most, it's the muscle that you use primarily for breathing. It's located underneath the lower ribs here, and it's going to drop down and lower down, which is why you would have that belly breathing. It's going to expand out wide. It's actually going to go in 360 degrees when you breathe. And so when you're breathing even with a shortened breathing rate, because you're taking more breaths, because you're trying to get more oxygen, you still want to really focus on the diaphragm. So what can happen a lot of times is we can get stuck with these chest breathing in and out, like just through the chest, or just breathing in and out through the belly, and we kind of forget about the most essential part, which is I'm actually trying to breathe with my diaphragm, right? So the part of my body that I think about when I'm paddling or running, training, and I'm needing to breathe to keep going, is I'm actually thinking about my diaphragm, and I'm actually thinking about expanding the lower rib cage, not necessarily down or up, but I'm just thinking going out wide. For me, that allows me to get in the most amount of oxygen, because naturally I'm already used to breathing out. most of us are used to already breathing out pretty naturally, but we don't necessarily think about getting wider as we breathe. So when I focus on just getting wider in the rib cage, when I breathe, even if I'm taking a really short breath, I can get a deeper breath. So I want you guys to put your hands on to your lower rib cage, and fingers can be like just gently touching. You pull the shoulders down, back and wide, the back of the neck long. And I want you to take an inhale, and I want you to see if you can feel the fingertips expand, the rib cage expand. So as the rib cage goes out wide, hopefully you'll get a little bit of space in between your fingers. And then as you exhale, give a little bit of gentle pressure to bring the rib cage back together with your hands, and then inhale. Feel the rib cage pulling out wide. Again, you're just trying to see a slight span in your fingers as you inhale, and then bringing it back down. Another thing you can do without putting, you can put pressure here, but if you feel like for some people that makes them like kind of do like this kind of thing in the shoulders, and I don't want that. I want you to keep the chest open and relaxed. So another thing you can do is have a partner put hands on your rib cage for this. Another thing you can do is put a band, you know, like those booty bands or, you know, workout bands tied. So there's just a little bit of resistance around the rib cage, and I want you to practice, because again, muscles get just like our breathing, like we train our muscles and our body to get stronger and better at what we do. That's what we're doing here with this simple breathing exercise, is we're training that expansion to happen more efficiently. So breathing out wide and exhaling, release. So you should feel not just the front of the rib cage expanding, I want you to feel the back of the rib cage expanding out wide as well. We can get so much more air in a shorter amount of time when we think about expanding out wide rather than just getting going out in one direction. We're going in 360 degrees. So let me know if you guys are feeling that, and if that's how that's landing with you on this simple diaphragm, simple lower rib cage expansion exercise. That's something I want you to practice. So the second thing that is going to help you increase your athletic performance through breathing is increasing your carbon dioxide tolerance. So you guys probably know the basic thing we did learn about breathing is we're inhaling oxygen, we're exhaling out carbon dioxide. That's basically what's happening, but it's actually a lot more complex than that. So if we're not, basically the more carbon dioxide we can tolerate in our systems, the better athletes and the better breathers we're going to be. The more performance we're going to see. And so how do I increase carbon dioxide tolerance? Is I actually breathe less, right? So so breathing less, taking less breaths, and especially longer exhales, a longer amount of time before we breathe new oxygen in. So I want to also build up a tolerance to carbon dioxide in my body. That's going to also increase my performance. So I'm going to give you one of my favorite exercises to work on that, okay? So this is the part where if you can get to a place where you're lying down, and I have no head. If you can get to a place where you're lying down, you can practice this with me. If not, I'm going to demonstrate it for you. So you want to put your feet up on a chair or or the wall, or a ball, and it's going to yeah, I'm in the frame, right? Okay, so you want 90 degrees. If I go here, I can't really see myself, but you want 90 degrees in your hip crease. You want 90 degrees in your knee bend. Relax your head down. I'm kind of on a slant. That feels weird. I also want you to, again, be mindful of his shoulders. Pull your shoulders wide, pull them down, because one hand position you can try is with your hands again on your rib cage. But if you inhale, And when that happens, you sort of feel those shoulders sort of come up or forward. That's not what I want to be happening. So sometimes just reminding them to come back and down helps. Or sometimes you just need to have the hands down, and you don't necessarily need something around your rib cage for this. It's just helpful in the beginning to really feel that your body is expanding where you are working on it expanding. So, hands can be on the ribs, they can be down by your sides, they can be on your shins, wherever they're comfortable. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a nice long deep inhale. So this time I do want you to feel the diaphragm expand in 360 degrees, filling the whole torso with breath, as much air as you can take in. And the exhale is what we're working on here. So the exhale, you're going to breathe in through your nose. And the exhale, I want you to think about that jaw and that mouth position that I was saying. So the jaw is gently closed and the tongue is just barely resting on the roof of the mouth. And then I want you to just hiss air out of your mouth as if it's like a tire with a slow leak. So I don't know if you guys can hear my hissing. I hope you can. You can probably hear it for yourself. It's just a slow hiss of air coming out. And what I want you to do is, it's basically slowing down your exhale. And I want you to take as long as possible to exhale. And when you get to the bottom of your exhale, I even want the belly to come in and down a little bit and get all the air out if you can. If you're like, oh my God, I need to take another breath, please take another breath. So you're going to take another deep breath in. If you need to take a few just regular, slow, deep breaths in between rounds, that's cool too. You're going to take another deep breath in, fill the whole torso, and then slow exhale, hissing out. Letting the belly come in, getting all the air out. So you kind of push a little bit at the end to get all the air out. And then you take a nice deep breath in, and I'm gonna sit up just so I can see for a moment because I couldn't see from lying down. So the goal is with this exercise, this practice, which I call hissing breath. I would just start with 3 rounds. You could work your way up to 10, and each time you exhale, I want you to make it as long and as slow of an exhale as you can. And if you're really working this hard, you're gonna feel that the last few seconds where you're like, oh my God, I really have that urge to breathe, but I'm still trying to get all my air out. That's the magic zone where we're working. And if it takes you 10 seconds, fine. If you know, they say a good goal to work up towards is 60 to 100 seconds. I'm not quite there yet. I think I've done 60 seconds like once, but it's a really long exhale. So again, even if you're only at 10 seconds, totally fine. Slowly but surely practicing this. You know, it just takes a few minutes a day. You can do this during a warm-up or a cool down from a training session. You can I do this in the bathtub sometimes when I'm really relaxed, and it's also, not only is it increasing your carbon dioxide tolerance, it's also increasing this intra-abdominal strength, which is also going to help improve your athletic ability. So like that like concentric contraction that's happening to slow down the breathing as you exhale, that is also helping to increase these like deep core muscles that can help you have a stronger core, be a stronger breather, and are beneficial in so many other aspects of your life as well. So let me see which comments I've missed here. Yes, 360, not just expanding forward. What about breath suspension for 2 to 3 minutes after a breath session? Yeah, again, there are so many different things techniques that you can practice to work on. These are just a couple of the beginner ones that I like to share with people. And if you're interested in more, like Powell said, almost Hof. I haven't actually studied. I'm very familiar with the Wim Hof method, but haven't actually studied it. It's on my reading list to read his book. But I would definitely read James Nestor's book, and I would, again, you go to a yoga class and practice pranayama. Like, there are so many different ways to increase your breath, optimize your breathing muscles, optimize your CO2 tolerance, and also optimize your breathing position, your mouth position, and open up those sinus cavities, so that doesn't feel like a strain either. So yeah, I had one more quick technique I was going to share with you, which is not about performance. So if you had any more questions about performance, go ahead and ask those now. And that is a technique that I use to dispel an anxiety attack. And I just wanted to throw this in there because I think it's really useful, and you can do this one definitely anywhere, anytime you start to feel panicked or anxious, right? And you're starting to get really upset, right? Like, maybe your partner just like did something infuriating and you're about to explode, right? Or like just something happened and you're set off and your nervous system is going crazy and you feel like sort of panicked or anxiety. And this is something that once I've learned it, I've been able to dispel, what would have been in the past a full-blown anxiety attack. And it's so simple. So usually I'm standing because I do this in the moment, and it's a deep, long inhale through the nose, and then it's actually exhaling out the mouth, and I'm making like a circle, and I'm just like, right? So you're making like a whooshing, and it's almost like, think about that inhale, exhale, like it's cooling, it's whooshing, it's air, it's water, whatever element really calms you. Think about that. Making that whooshing kind of sound is really helpful too. And as you do this, usually the first few will be a little bit faster, and then as you do a few rounds, you can bring it a little bit slower and a little bit slower and a little bit slower until you're back to like what would be like a normal sort of breathing. And maybe you're still a little bit fired up, but you're not about to like go into panic, right? So you're with a circle, like a whistle mouth, and yeah, and that's just like a quick anywhere, anytime, super helpful. Like, the breath is helpful in an infinite number of ways. We can practice it in an infinite number of ways, and we really should, because it is, as I said in the beginning, the most powerful tool that we have, and it's always with us. Like, we don't gotta go get it. We don't even have to sit down or lie down, although those things often help. We can just totally change what's happening on our internal world by the way that we breathe. So practice these things when you're training. Nasal breathing, jaw closed, tongue on the roof of the mouth. Practice in and out through the nose. Yes, that's how I breathe even when I'm training. Maybe not at a full sprint, but depending how long the sprint is, I don't even think about breathing. But something that I'm working on, where I'm at right now, is this aerobic state, in and out through the nose. And it is hard at first. It is hard at first, and once you start to feel more comfortable with it, and even before I started to feel more comfortable with it, I was already noticing how it was affecting my performance in a beneficial way, right? So if you find it hard to do while paddling, if you like any other form of cardio like running or biking, you can practice it then too. Might be a little bit easier because paddling is such a full body movement. It's hard to do all the things at once. So I'm gonna cut off here. If you have any more comments or questions, please let me know before I do. I already made